Hey guys, welcome back to the Interceptor, and we are here with Season 48, War number 4, and Matrix has matched up against CWIII. These guys are a Platinum 1 alliance, and while I've never matched them personally, I believe I have seen them in Platinum 1 before. So, today we have the full Hood Trinity of Hood, Strife, and Moleman. So just in case you don't know how the synergies work, I'm just going to explain them briefly. So you'll see me bring the Moleman synergy quite often because whenever I'm taking more than 2 fights with Hood, there's always the risk of him running out of bullets unless you play the fights really slowly to conserve bullets, and Hood is definitely a nuke champion. So it's kind of like the best comparison I can give is, let's say that CGR was only capable of inflicting a certain amount of armor breaks, and you had to do something to get them back, or else your SP2 doesn't inflict armor breaks. That's probably the best way to compare Hood to a champion that everyone pretty much knows how to play. So there are 3 ways to get back bullets. 2 of those ways are doable without the synergy, which are making hits miss and nullifying buffs. But the 3rd way, through the Moleman synergy, is by knocking down. So you'll notice that in this war, there are several times where I will either throw extra heavy attacks or extra special attacks for the main purpose of getting my bullets back. And the other synergy I have, which is Strife, is actually a really, really cool synergy. It's not one of Hood's personal synergies, it's one of Strife's synergies. Although what it does is it gives Hood plus 50% attack rating while invisible. And in war, with Mystic Dispersion, Power Back boosts, and SP1 boosts, you're going to be invisible over half the fight. Which means that this is pretty much just a flat 25% increase to your damage. And because of that, I'm actually going to be using 150% Mystic Power Back boost in this war instead of my usual 200%. And you're not even going to really notice a difference. Like, the fights are fast. That was a 25 or 27 second rank 3 7-star kill. I think it was a rank 3. I'm not going to go back and check. It might have been a rank 2. But when you see Silver Surfer on defense, it's usually a prestige play to rank 3. So that's why that's my assumption. Could be a rank 2, but I don't know. But Path 3, Section 1, I didn't really have anything to say. That path is only dangerous if the defenders have armor ups. And first off, Absman can't gain armor ups. He was a diversity placement. And Silver Surfer does not gain armor ups if you play against him correctly. So here we have the matchup of Hood versus Korg. And this one is an interesting matchup because the attacker tactic prowesses reduce the ability accuracy of Purify. So he is not able to shrug off any debuffs ever after I acquire 3 prowesses. And because as a defender he's not part of the tactic, he has no way of removing my prowesses. Once I have them, they're there permanently. They don't get removed by the Indestructible because he's not a global defender. So what we're going to do is we are going to be using that to parry while he has the rock shield up for an extra way to get the thorns damage gone. Now, there is a normal way to play Hood versus Korg that works everywhere that I do in Battlegrounds, which is using light intercepts or using phase assisted intercepts. And even without the attacker tactic, that fight would have gone completely fine. There was never any danger to it. However, it's obviously simpler and easier when you can just parry. So here on the next node, we have this Baron Zemo, and obviously the danger to this guy is that the node is going to be giving him debuffs while you're close to him. When he purifies them, he goes A, unblockable from the node, and B, when he cleanses 5 debuffs, he's actually going to root you. So the goal of this fight was to kill Baron Zemo before I got rooted. And there my heavy attack almost kills, I let another hit miss, and my basic attacks are going to kill. Because again, it's not just special attacks or the detonation that gets the 50% attack increase from invisibility, it's also your basic attacks, which is really cool. But also something I should mention in case you don't know the way that Hood works in like the kind of more niche matchups, the damage that the burst does from your heavy attack based off your hexes is calculated at the moment you detonate it, not when you inflict the hexes. It's not when you convert bullets into hex. Which means that as long as you are invisible, when you detonate the heavy, or you detonate the hexes with the heavy, all of the hexes get the 50% damage increase, which is a really cool ability because not all champions work that way. In fact, most of them don't work that way. Most of the burst champions. Although, who's another one? Guardian also works that way, where it's calculated at the moment, which is why he benefits from the striker increase on his shocks. Although his shocks are, they condense into one damage source, and Hood's actually all trigger individually, which is the same reason that the hex detonations bypass rage and other stuff like that. Not really important, I just thought it was interesting to mention one of the more advanced mechanics that Hood has that people often confuse. But this fight right here, this is a Adam Warlock on node 42, and I was kind of surprised to see this matchup because there are a few places on the map that you can place Adam Warlock where he's not that simple to take with Hood. This is not one of them. This is a terrible matchup, and he goes down so easily. I never had any issues. But that was just a really, really good matchup for Hood. It's a bad matchup for Adam Warlock because the node just doesn't provide him any safety, any protection from Hood, who is the most dangerous attacker towards cosmic defenders this meta. But what they actually did is they straight up swapped the placement of Adam Warlock and Gorr this war. So I'm facing Adam Warlock on the node Gorr's usually on, and then I'm facing Gorr on the node Adam Warlock is usually on. In fact, in War 5, I have these two fights but swapped, which is kind of funny. I don't know. I think that's funny. But I do think it's a really, really bad decision here because you kind of make Adam Warlock easier, but you don't make Gorr any harder. So it's kind of a bad trade-off. But here, against Gorr, you'll notice that I took off Mystic Dispersion. I did that for a couple reasons. The first reason is that with the attack increase and my power back boosts, even lowering Mystic Dispersion to 3 might not be enough, and I might still be sent to my SP3. Now, one thing happened in this fight that I wasn't really anticipating with my SP1 boost, and that is my invisibility wore off before I was able to power control with my L2. And I didn't really think that would happen. So you'll notice that I mistime my L2 and send him to SP3 before my SP2 starts to power control him. And that's just unfortunate because, yeah, I lose 50 or 60% of my health from that, and then I had to block an L2 to recover. But the fight went down. It wasn't in any real danger because I knew I could tank an L3 if I absolutely needed to. Oh, I just swiped away the video by accident. Doesn't really matter. I'll just pause here and give you the results for this war. So that was all of my fights for the war. I had 6 fights with Hood. They all went down absolutely no problem. Gorr got a little sketchy, but it was completely my fault for mistiming my SP2. If I had just played my combos a little better, I could have been throwing my SP2 while my whole invisibility, or like while all the hits would have had invisibility and therefore would have power controlled. And done some power steal from Gorr, and I would have been back at an L2 instead of him being at an L3. And then the fight would have been over probably about 15 seconds faster, and obviously I would have probably ended with about 95% health. But I was never in any real danger, and even in the fight, like, I wasn't bothered about eating an L3 because I know, like, this isn't going to come anywhere near killing me, even though it's a rank 3 Gorr, because he has no buffs. He has no buffs, right? Which means no fury buffs, no nothing. And we won this war. We did win this war. It was not close. I believe the final score was something like 22-60. I don't know exactly because I didn't check after the war was done. I only checked when we had cleared and they had about 15 fights left, and at that point they had about 50 deaths. So I'm just estimating, like, roughly 60. But yeah, we are now 2-2 on the season. Although next war that's gonna go to 2-3 because we matched Salty, one of the consensus top 3 alliances pretty much every season. And we now have 2 deaths on the season. Didn't die in this war, but my PSR is now 24 out of 26, or 92% solo rate, and my Deathless streak is up to 16 fights in a row. So that is going to be all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. This was a very fun war for me, getting to use Hood for every single fight. One of my absolute favorite champions, and I will see you all later. Bye.